welcome everybody here on this Christmas Eve, and thank you for visiting. If you haven't been here before, if you have been here before, thank you for coming back. Thank you for being in fellowship with us this evening. Christmas Eve is a night for dreaming. It's a night for dreaming of the past and the stories that have been told so often that they've become part of our DNA, practically. And yet, even though we know them so well, we never get tired of hearing them. Instead, we gather together to hear the stories, to hear the familiar words, to remember the familiar images that we know so well, and to just be reminded of the warmth and the grace of God that comes to us on Christmas Eve. It's also a night for dreaming of the future, what that future might be like. That's something we all do in our own way, because we know that there is a future planned for us. There's a destiny that calls to us. The kingdom of God waits for us. And all of that is made possible by events that happen in a small town a long way from here, 2,000 years ago. So tonight we invite you to dream with us as we hear again the story, familiar scriptures, some special music. And as we dream tonight, we're going to start in a place that you might find odd. If you know me, that won't surprise you. Because we're beginning not in a stable, not in a town in a faraway place at a long ago time, but we're beginning with a very fragile ship. A ship orbiting the moon, almost 250,000 miles away, 50 years ago this very night. If you were around, you might remember. On that night, 50 years ago, 1 billion people, that's 1 out of every 4 human beings on this planet, sat at their TV and watched as Apollo 8 circled the moon and sent back pictures from another world. I remember it well. 1968, when this happened. Again, if you were there and you lived through it, you know it was a year of horrors and pain in our nation. Martin Luther King had been killed, and Robert Kennedy had been killed. The war in Vietnam seemed to be just exploding, and there were riots in the cities, and it seemed like the whole world itself was being pulled apart. And then there was Apollo 8. It was the first manned mission to leave Earth's orbit. If you were a dreamer, like I was, it couldn't help but capture your imagination. And when NASA finalized its plans earlier that year, and they realized that Borman, Lovell, and Anders, the crew of Apollo 8, would be circling the moon on Christmas Eve, 1968, their only instruction to the astronauts was that they should do something appropriate to observe the moon. And if you were one of the billion people who saw that, if you were one of the billion people pulled up in front of your TV set watching that night, as I was, you could not help but be awed by the grainy black and white vision of the lunar surface outside the command module window as the astronauts marked that moment with us for something incredibly, or with something incredibly appropriate. They reminded us with words of beauty and grace, and they reminded us that the world could indeed be brought together in the face of something wonderful. I'll share that with you.
It's now approaching lunar sunrise, and for all the people back on Earth, the crew of Apollo 8, has a message that we would like to send to you. morning was the first day. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament, the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning was the second day. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And from the crew of a palm leaf, we close with good night, goodbye, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you on the good earth.
God bless all of us on good earth. As we begin this Christmas Eve service, let's stand, just greet one another for a moment or two.